What's the connection between the dream and the dreamer? Could we say that the dreamer is the creator of the dream? Because we could argue that the dream is totally dependent on the dreamer. This is a little bit difficult for us, isn't it? Because we assume that the creator is the one who has the power, the one who is in control. And even if we're a lucid dreamer, it's still the dream that calls the shots, isn't it? There's not much control going on there. In fact, we're usually at the mercy of our dreams. The creator is usually at the mercy of the creation. We might say, well, the dream is a manifestation of the subconscious of the dreamer. But what's that saying? All that's saying is we don't know. We don't know what the connection between the dream and the dreamer is. But we're assuming that there is a connection. So we assume that there is a connection between the dream and the dreamer. But we don't know what it is, and maybe it will come to light at a future date. That's what the word subconscious means. It's a presumed connection between the dream and the dreamer, but we don't know what it is. Perhaps there is no distinction between the dream and the dreamer. Perhaps it's a false distinction to make. There's only the dreaming going on. In a similar way, we can consider the connection between ourself and the physical world that we find ourselves in. What is the connection between the two? Is there a connection? Is there a connection between us as a physical body and the world in which we find ourselves existing in? Well, in modern Western culture, at least in modern Western education, we assume that there's no connection. You're an independent entity walking around an external stage set, interacting a little bit here and there. The destructiveness of this way of thinking has become apparent with the rise of so-called green issues. We realise that we're all dependent. Our physical existence is all tied in with the well-being of the planet. But that's only scratching the surface. Perhaps in the same way that the dreamer is no different from the dream, there is actually no difference between us as a body and the world in which we find ourselves. And this is summed up in the notion of the cosmic person, the Virat, which assumes no distinction between the individual and the world in which we find ourselves. The Virat is the arena of enlightenment practice, of spiritual practice. It's the dream and the dreamer, but it's the awakened dreamer. It's the dream and being awake from the dream. Being awake from the dream is consciousness, being aware of itself. Being caught up in the dream is when consciousness is caught up in and reflected in the notions which arise within it. Vasistha continued. The cosmic person, Virat, has two bodies. The superior body is pure consciousness, which is without beginning, end or middle, and the other body is this world. Hence he is able to view the world like an egg from outside it, as a hen does. he divided the egg into two. The upper part he called the sky or the heaven, and the lower part he called the earth. So this is the cognitive process setting in. This is when consciousness moves away from realization of its own essential nature and starts splitting things up into above and below, heaven and earth, and so it goes on. The upper part is known as the head of the Virat, the lower part is his feet, and the middle, the atmosphere, is his back or buttocks. The upper part, because it is so far away, is seen as the blue and empty sky. The assumption here is that you can only see so far until everything just turns blue. The firmament is the palate of the Virat, and the stars are drops of blood. The particles of air that course the body are gods, demons and humans. The germs and viruses in the body are the ghosts and goblins. The holes in the body are other worlds. His loins are the oceans. The nadis are the rivers, and the continent known as Jambudvipa is his heart. The empty space is his stomach. The mountains are his liver and spleen. The clouds are his flesh. The sun and the moon are his eyes. The world of Brahma is his face. Soma is his energy. The snow-bound mountains are his phlegm. The subterranean fire is his bile. The winds are his prana and apana. All the trees and the snakes are his hairs. So this is one way of extending it. The point here being that there's no difference between the individual and the world. They are identical. And this is summed up in the notion of the cosmic person. It's a way of relating to the world. If we can get over the alienation that is bred in us through our culture and education, and feel this identification with absolutely everything, then it becomes easier to actually step aside from it. This is what's developed in the next paragraph, which I'll continue in the next video.